Here on the Uplevel Dairy Podcast, we're celebrating International Women's Day and Women's History Month by sharing stories from women around the world who are making a difference in the dairy business. And today's guest is a one-woman powerhouse who has paved her own path with hard work, perseverance, and a commitment to excellence as a European-based livestock show supplies business. Not to mention clipping and fitting with some of the best show strings in the world. Erica Rijneveld reflects on ordering her first case of Orvis in her 20s and growing livestock show equipment over the past 2 decades to what is now a successful online store with more than 450 different products for both farmers and fitters. And she's also made it her mission to teach and encourage the next generation of dairy enthusiasts through the acclaimed Young Breeders School, a Belgium-based experience for young people from around the world who want to learn and grow their network, their skills, and their love for competition through dairy cattle showing and fitting. Enjoy this conversation with our guest today in our series of International Women in Dairy, Erica Rijneveld. Well, we're back with our International Women in Dairy series, and I have on with me again Sue Heim from Quality Branding Solutions, one of my trusted partners in my business here at Uplevel Dairy, and also with many dairy farms throughout the country and agribusinesses throughout Wisconsin, the Midwest, and beyond as well. But Sue, I've brought you in on this International Women in Dairy series because of your experience as a woman business owner for 35 years with Quality, and you shared with us a nugget of advice on our previous episode in this series. What's your wisdom that you can instill upon us today?
I think you need to make sure that you are working on a balance between your work and your life balance. Over the years, I had done, like any woman in leadership or any leader is going to be doing the overnighters when you need to. And obviously in the dairy and agribusiness, everyone's working 24/7. For me, it ended up developing more of a health issue. I'm a type 1 diabetic now. So you do need to stop and realize that it is a lot about self-care. So now, I actually have a life coach. I take the moments that I need to. When I was actually raising my children, I would take one day off that I was actually the caregiver for my children in that day. Was I still doing some business work? Yes. But at least you will never regret the fact that you took the moment to be able to raise your children yourself. Obviously, being on a farm, there might be a better situation for that. But for me, there was no remote working at the time. Say no. That's another aspect that I would suggest, because community was huge for me and it still is. But I was on like this organization's board or whatever it might be. So I was very strong in the community and I was volunteering everywhere. And I've now realized that you do have to say no, because otherwise you're not taking care of yourself.
Ooh, that saying no, that is a really tough thing for so many of us, especially because we feel compelled to be part of things that are bigger than ourselves. And in our dairy community, there's so many opportunities to step up and to serve, to advocate, to lead, whether it's locally or on a board that is reaching a level nationally even. But I'm curious for you, Sue, as you have learned how to say no, is there any key phrase or way that you have come to respond to requests that you just feel gives you some power and confidence in the way that you can say no to an offer or opportunity?
I think it's just a shift in the way that you are running your business, but it also is part of your culture that you have and your trust that you have with your staff as well. So you're delegating everything to your staff that you can. Anything that can be delegated, you should. Therefore, you can say no to opportunities of the additional work for yourself as a leader. So if someone else is taking it on, it's okay. It does not have to always be the lead woman leader that you have within your business. Delegate things off as much as you can and trust your staff. We have what's called here like a Monday Moments. So what we do is we get together as a team. And when I'm saying no to one area, maybe there's a way that someone else can take it on. So I trust my staff. I give them the power to be able to do something more for themselves, to do some personal growth. And this is their way of contributing to the team and to our culture.
Sue, what a great piece of wisdom that you've dropped on us here. And so appreciate your honesty about what it's like 35 years in business with Quality Branding Solutions in Luxembourg, Wisconsin, serving the needs of businesses like mine, of farms that are in your community and so far beyond. And we thank you for jumping in on this tip today.
Thank you, Peggy.
Erica, so pleased to have you as part of this series of International Women in Dairy. And to kick us off, give me a little bit of your background.
Some people introduce me in the United States when they say, "This is my friend from Europe, and she is the NASCO from Europe." So,
You're
yeah.
the one woman NASCO. I love it. I
Yeah.
love
So,
it.
yeah. So that's what we do.
Okay, so here you started this business in your 20s. And is this where you saw yourself?
I was not ever expecting when I was doing that internship in Italy. I learned to clip, but I was not expecting to be traveling all through Europe, United States. I did a few times Canada and clip all over, meet so many people, and then in the end, let my business grow and get everything as being as it is today. Not at all. Like I was importing 10 boxes of Orvas and I was afraid to get rid of them. And now if I have 10 boxes of Orvas in stock, I think, oh my God, I need to order because it needs to come in a week because otherwise I'm in trouble. You know what I mean? I never could expect when I was that age that it would grow like this. But sometimes things just happen and nothing happens without doing nothing. One of my goals, and the people who know me know I am that way. So if you want to do something, you have to work for it. That's it.
Mm. And sometimes we forget too that a business, as you said today, where now when you look at your Orvis stash and you're like, oh my gosh, we're down to 10 boxes, that at one point 10 boxes was a whoa moment. Holy cow, what am I going to do with this? And what an awesome place to be at. And so, what is your business today?
So to go, like I travel to Europe likewise to do shows, to teach, to do everything, and then I build up my company. So nowadays I am delivering through all Europe, and actually all the show supplies you like for the show, like shine and halters and nylon halters, clippers, blades, everything what has to do with it. White jeans, show boots, work clothes from bibs, all that kind of thing. So I try to be a complete package because I think that's my strength because I've been and I still am practically involved in the show business. So I know what is important to have and what could be very nice to add to my storage to sell it. Because if you work every week, not anymore now, but if you work on a show, you see what people need and
Mm,
what is necessary. So I think I have like more or less 450 different products
wow.
or just showing and grooming. Yeah.
Wow. So, are you a one woman show or do you have a team now that
Well,
helps you?
I have some people for finance and I have people packaging, but it's a small business. It's one or two people and that's it.
So, maybe small by numbers of people, but big by impact and reach and volume.
Yeah, we tried it. We try to do our best, but it's a big world, show world, but also it's a very small world. So when there's shows, it's busy. When it's no shows, it's more quiet. So we also have quiet months, but then we have time to do more bookkeeping, organize the store, get more of your stock organized, and all that kind of a thing. I do 80% online because I also have to be in the store to pack my boxes. So I cannot be traveling around having a trailer and so I do that. Then I go to shows, clip, and then I put my car full of stuff. And then everybody who needs it or wants to order before, they can come to my car and I just sell it out of my car. It's a little simple, but it's the way it is and it works. And I also, what I still like is I like to be around with the show people. So I like to be in the middle. Like I don't want to get dressed up and walk around and ask if they need something. I want to be in my bibs, clip some cows and be happy around that. So,
Yeah, keep it simple and you've got your system down. And the most important thing, too, is that it allows you to be you. And it sounds like, Erica, you is in your bibs, working with cows in the barn with people and being able to do this all at the same time, huh?
yeah, yeah, trying to do that. Sometimes it's difficult. And also sometimes nowadays, I did 40 shows a year and my business, which was nowadays it's very hard. So I like 5 years ago, I just changed a little bit and I said, okay, I need to make decisions because I also want to serve my customers and I want to do shows. So I do less shows, but I still do one show each month or a school each month because I also very like to motivate the young people to clip and to learn how to go to show. So that's another part I really like to do. So I want to keep that doing too.
So youth is really important to you, huh?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Uh,
Yes, it is. With the young people, trying to put them in new projects, bring them over to some shows, to get them involved and let them learn the right way. That's important.
so
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that if you would.
Well, yeah, the Young Breeder School has been normally it was only for Europe, but now all other countries come in too, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, US. But it's a week of young people gathering together, learning how to go to shows, go to show how to feed, how to clip. Some hoof trimming Dave did this year was really nice too. A nice addition. They learn how to judge a little bit, and there's all small things, but it makes them all learn a bit. Some people learn more to clip, some people learn more to show, other people they learn more how to work. And the funny thing is, it's so much nice to see all the young kids. The first day they're very like on their own and doing their own thing, and second and third day they all gather a little together, look around, talk a little bit with each other, and then we have a kind of a culinary tour on Saturday night, and then everybody needs to bring some food or some drinks from their own country, which is specific. So and then everybody walks around, talk with each other, and they meet up, and then after 1 or 2 years or even the next show, you will see people from the Young Breeder School in other countries because they're invited from other kids. That's a big part of the Young Breeder School. So some people go there to win, some people go there to learn, but everything is okay. But the main thing is that they learn in a different country, they meet up people from all different kind of countries and even from over the pond. So it's cool. That's really cool. So every year is different, but it's always good editions. Yes.
That is really cool. What a neat opportunity for those youth. And as you talked about how you see them interact with each other. So individually at first, and then they start to make those connections. But also what you said about how there's a little bit of something for everyone's, not just their interest, they're all there for the same interest, but their internal motivation, whether it's connection and networking or the competitive aspects. And as you said,
Yeah.
like they're all okay, they're all welcomed, and you create the space for those connections to take place
Yes.
at a global level. And so as you're talking about this, Erica, I can't help but wonder if your passion for pouring back into youth in this way comes from maybe some of your own experiences, especially looking back in those early years of being an intern and Holstein International and finding your way that led you to where you are. Who influenced you?
It all started in Italy and then in Castelverde, a small town in Italy. And Giuseppe Guaini, at that time he was a famous judge, European judge, and they had famous cows on the European show. And I like to do a foreign internship. And I asked him a few times, never responded. And then again, tried to call him again. And then I could come and start do the internship. And I said that to him that I wanted to learn clipping. And the only thing he did was driving around with his scooter. And when I was washing cows or clipping, he just took over my clipper. He did something, and then I was like, "What the? Why you not telling me something? Just tell me something, what I could do or what I should change." But then later on, nowadays, I learned so many things of him because I learned to think. And I learned to overview what I did wrong, why he did that way. And I can show kids like 10 times how to hold the machine when doing the top. But if they don't have the feeling with the clipper, it's hard to explain. So he learned me that. He learned me more to think, to keep the mouth shut because I like to talk. But when I was younger, I was always saying yes, but, and then I continued. So he said, you have to learn to stop saying that and just work. So I did that because I've always been a worker. So I worked hard, but I really wanted to learn. Then he learned me that. So in nowadays, it's so nice to teach the kids a little bit more, but also sometimes not tell them everything so they can grow and they can learn on their own and be developing like good kids, like good show kids with respect for farmers, with respect for animals, and with respect for the other people showing.
What a powerful lesson. And for one, he taught you these lessons by allowing you to figure out and
Yeah.
think, as you said. But what's really neat is how you've taken that and now you use that same model to teach others
Yeah.
and to teach by doing, but allowing them to be the doers. You show them what success looks like, or you show them what the result looks like, but then you're allowing them to figure out for themselves how they need to get there to the end
Yeah.
point.
I explain them more than I've been explained, but one certain moment I let them do their thing because I also think that if you want to be good, you cannot everything not can be taught, but you also need to work and need to practice and need to overthink and need to grow by doing yourself and evaluate. It's very important. Evaluate yourself because if you always think that if you what you do well, you will never grow. And that's what every top line I am doing right now. Still, I'm critical on myself, even after all those years, because I can blame the hair if the top line is not nice. But I can also think, okay, what happened wrong? Is it my blower? Is it my blade? Is it the hair? Is it the wash? It's always very good to evaluate yourself, even if you clip or you go to the show or you are disappointed after a show about your results. It's easy to blame the judge,
Mm.
but it's better to step backwards and overthink. And of course, with all the emotions, sometimes you cannot think on the right moment. If you think it's going well, and some things are going wrong in the end. I am that passionate that I'm also like, shoot, and what happened and whatever. But then later on, I overthink the things and to do better the next time, to do maybe different because maybe the other get too full because of I didn't see something 1 hour before, or maybe I changed the feeding the day before, or the hay was maybe too much protein and she make too much milk, or all those kind of things. You have to evaluate, and it starts young to evaluate. With starting now, I'm talking about a lot of other things which are maybe not for the start and started per a young breeder, but you have to evaluate. That's main thing in all the phases of your life of
Yeah.
showing.
Well, and I think what you just shared too is very reflective as well, because what I'm hearing from you is you look at how can you evaluate every variable that contributes to the end result. And that in and of itself is a skill, right? Especially you talked about the showing and the emotions that get involved, but the emotions are driven by passion. And the most powerful thing you can do with that passion is be able to pivot out of emotion and into that lens of examination, introspection, and evaluation of the variables. It sounds like you've taught yourself to do really, really well. And no doubt that's made you successful. As you said, still every top line, you're evaluating
Yeah.
those variables. I got to ask you this. When you think about the last 28 years of being in this business, how many top lines do you think you've done?
When I was doing 40 shows a year and you do, let's say, average 12 tops on every show times 40, and then you have to blow them up, you have to prepare them. So it's not only the final touch, it's also blow them up once or twice. So, well, everybody who's counting now with their
Yes.
machine, they can count whatever. But
But we're in the tens of thousands by the
yes,
time you add that
yes.
up. And what do they say? It takes 10,000 hours to master something. But what I hear from you is that doesn't mean you mastered it. It means that you still got to keep looking for how to improve.
If you think you are the best, if you think you've learned everything, it's the moment you go down.
When you think about some of the things that you've ran into, and let's take the last 5 years. In fact, you had noted earlier in our conversation that I think you said about 5 years ago, you made a little bit of a switch in the way you utilize the
Yeah.
time in the business. But when you look back on the last 5 years, what would you say has been one of the biggest challenges that you've ran into?
I cannot be in between the shows, every show. And so I did so many shows in every country. So I could be away every week. And I can because I have to be organized in my storage too and the business. So I think was the most hardest part emotionally wise, and it's better to let my business grow because I like my business, and I also know that I can do that longer until I'm 70. I cannot keep on clipping until I'm 70. That's how I have to develop more my business and slow down a bit more with clipping. But for me, that was a very hard part.
That's a
But
big shift to make.
yeah, it is. But in the end, it's good. And that's what I always said. It's like I need to give the younger generation the possibility to clip too. Because if we are with a range of fitters and we do a lot of cows on shows, but if we are not there anymore, other people need to pick up.
So as you got to see others rise up to take responsibility and to work on their own craft, it made it a little
Yeah.
bit easier for you to be good with stepping back. And when you talk about these last 5 years, the whole COVID crisis was almost 5 years ago now. How did that change things for you?
Well, as I said, I have difficulties to sit back and don't find any solutions. I just went just before COVID. I went in. We built a new storage, so I just get everything in by the time the COVID started. So that was quite harsh because then I had to my last bills for the new building, and everything it stopped from it went to 0 packages a day because well there were no shows, so no shows,
Yeah.
no sellings. So I organized my storage and get everything organized, and my web shop again renewing and these things. But then the work was finished, and well I did a lot of things. I milked with farm at places. I did clipping for just for classification and painting houses, whatever. Just find the way to make money. That's it.
So you didn't sit still, but what a time, right? You had just made some big investments, and then there was the unknown. Would your world, as in the show world, would it return back to some level of normal and be there to support your business? But it's not just the products and the sales, that's your life.
Yeah,
That's what
true.
breathes life into you. So, at what point did shows come back online and you were able to just kind of be back in the groove of what you love? How did that all play out in Europe?
In the end, it worked. It was like 1.5 year, really. Yeah, 1.5 year, I think, really bad. And then they started with the video shows. And then in the end, it started again. And it worked along. We missed some farmers, they just quit showing. But there were also new people come in. So some shows stopped, some came, new shows came. So in the end, everything is on normal, same level, normal level again. But it has been for everybody, I think, a strong thing. And not only for my business, also for the farmers, also for, well, they were also stuck on their own farms without seeing anybody. And the fear with everybody had with the older people dying and everything, that's been maybe a show is not that important and that maybe family is more important that time and be around and try to be safe and healthy.
Yeah. So it was a perspective change too.
The good thing is it's hard to remember it anymore. We just keep on going and keep moving forward.
Yeah. And I can tell, Erica, that your mind is always going forward. But I'm going to ask you to look back one more time today. And what I want you to look back on is the last 5 years, which were filled with challenges that you couldn't have even predicted, as we've been talking about here. But what would you say has been one of the most events or occurrences that's brought you the greatest satisfaction? Like, what's one of your biggest wins from the last 5 years?
Business wise, I think building my new storage with a nice office as I am today, which is warm in winter times. It doesn't need to be that huge to make it feel comfy. And I think that's cool when I look back. And then I have a few shows which I'm looking back to, which I just enjoyed so much. And we always try to win. We never succeed all the time, but we always try to win. And there was some challenges over the years in different countries with languages or the way people are going to the show or have the show routine, which is completely different than as we are used to. Or that's a lot of fun facts too. Not expecting you would go do good, but you keep your program what you think the cows would do good on. And then in a week or in 1.5 weeks, you can change the whole thing and you can let them be a winner in the end. That's for me, those kind of things. It's always challenging and that never get bored. I think that's one of my also well, like clipper wise as being a fitter wise the nicest things, yes. And there's special ones. I had one, but that's more than 5 years ago. But one cow from Menorca, that's an island, Spanish island, and we had to go to the national show with that cow, with that and a few other cows, but the one cow was very special. We know she was good, and we had to move her up from the island with a boat to the mainland. Then we had to wait one day. Then we had to travel again 1,300 kilometers, and then we had to get them ready in 4 days. And then she didn't wanna. She wanted to go, but she was not really there yet when we worked on it. And I even get a little scared, but I wanted to be looking scared. So I was full convinced to the farmers, like everything is going to be okay. We just keep on going, our same system, this and that. And then in the end, like the day before, she was getting along, she was finding the right routine, and in the end she got grants. So those kind of things, they're fun to talk and they're fun to say these stories, and they have a special part in your Holstein book. Yes, for sure.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. So you shared that story, which is so cool. And it's hard to imagine, right? Think of trucking cattle to a show, but you had to ship these cattle
That's
across the
funny.
water to get to the land to
Yeah.
then go to the show. All of the pieces and parts that come together and that have to line up just right. And all through that time, you had to just maintain this confidence and consistency, not just of the schedule for the cattle, but for yourself, right?
Yeah.
So that you could see through to the finish. And what an awesome finish. A
Yeah.
win. Was it the championship that you treasure most, or was it the journey that it took?
The journey for
Yeah.
sure. But it's the journey who makes it even more you feel happy to work with them and see that cows go the way you like them to go. And then when they go that way, I think that's one of the greatest things to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So now we're going to go into Erica mode, which is fast forwarding. We've been looking back at a 5 year span or a little bit more. Let's go ahead 5 years. 5 years from now, if you and I sit down and have the same conversation, how do you hope you would answer that last question about what's brought you the greatest satisfaction in the last 5 years? How do you hope to answer that 5 years from now?
I think continuing serving better my business and getting like more good good material in for get your cows ready as best as you can. And I really like that even the younger generation is on more level. We can get even more people involved in the agricultural business, and especially for showing and clipping cattle. So it's really in 5 years, I really hope that there's as many young people in the business or more than as we speak of today.
And so your role in making that happen, keep up with the breeder
Them.
school.
Yeah. And keep them motivated to work on it, to give them the right directions to, and well, to start clipping, to show, and to handle also the disappointments. I think that's an important thing too.
Ooh, so you're not just teaching skills related to showing, you're really teaching life skills through breeder school and your interactions with those youth,
I
aren't
really
you?
think, but
Yeah.
because I think it's a way showing. I always say showing is a way of life, and it's true. But you can show on different ways, and as being a person on different way, you know. On show day, I am not very speaky too. I am just focused on my cows and cattle and try to do the best. And some people say came along and say, "Oh, you can smile a little bit more." And even I say that when the kids they are practicing showmanship. So, well, a smile doesn't cost any money, but if you see me in the show ring, it's not very smiley either. But it is important to have both ways, you know. I mean, be critical on yourself, enjoy it, work hard, and you can't get where you want to be with doing nothing and holding up on other of hanging on other shoulders. You know what I mean? You have to do it yourself.
And that's what you've done. And that's what you keep doing. What a fun conversation this is, Erica, because you can just feel the energy and passion that you have for what you do every day. And also for being able to give back and influence others through that too. And so obviously you operate at a high level. And in fact, I'm guessing that this is our conversation today is like probably the longest you've sat in one place today. But I got to ask you, what does it take for you to be at your best, to be able to bring the full Erica, all the energy, the passion, the ambition? If you could say there's three things that you need every day to bring it, what would you say those things are?
I think, first of all, I need to have work. If I don't have work, I would be not happy. So if I don't have work, I will see the work, but for sure I have to do something. So that's one. And then second, I like to have a smile from somebody every day or a feel good moment every day. I make the feel good moment by saying hi to somebody who is scanning my packages and nobody's talking with him, some things like that, or just a funny customer or a customer who is happy with quick delivery or a young kid happy that he can blow up a top or those kind of small things. That's very important for me for having a good day. And of course, at the end of the day, it's good to be sit back a little, and I like good food. I like a wine, so that's good too. But
So you do unwind a little bit once in a while.
for sure, yes. But you have to step back a little to overthink the things.
And reflect, right? And I'm guessing in your mind, again, like we talked about before, it's going through all those variables and saying, what do we need to do? What do we need to tweak? And how can we set things up to be it continually improving? What a career path that you have been on, this ride of becoming a fitter and a business owner, and now this combination of both at a high level. And I can't help but wonder, going back again to your younger days getting into this business, were there a lot of women that you could look toward as the example for you?
No, that time there were not so many clipping, but I was never thinking about it also. Sometimes even when I'm on shows now, I'm standing with all the fitters and I'm not even thinking that I'm the only women around. But it just doesn't come up to me that I'm just feeling like one of them. It's not that I'm feeling because I'm a woman, it's different. And I had that the first time I was clipping in the US. I had that too. The guy I had to work with, he was looking at me from top to bottom and like, okay, I have to work with you. I said, yeah, yeah, yep. But now over the years, I think it's also getting more normal that there's and men and women clipping, traveling around, and yeah.
Yeah. And so for you, it was like a non issue. Like you didn't see it or experience a ton of barriers in that way. You knew what you're going to do. You just went and did it.
And I'm honest. I'm not gonna turn my back and say something bad if I feel not comfortable with somebody or they are not treating people right or whatever. In every matter, I will tell them. And of course, 20 years ago, I was a little more sharp. I would tell them a little more defensive, offensive, or whatever. I learned to be a little bit more political, but still, people know what they have. And if they look at my face, they will know too. But people say to me that they always can read my mind from my face. So.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So they don't have to wonder what you're thinking. But you know what? I'm wondering how this conversation would have gone with 25-year-old Erica and what, what you would have said.
You would never invite me, I guess.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, as we talked about, it wasn't like there was this big array of women that were doing what you wanted to do or what you were stepping into that you could really look at as leaders, specifically as female in the industry. And so you just went out and did the thing alongside everybody else. There are a lot of young women that do have passion for showing and for fitting. I want you to take a minute to speak to those younger women specifically. Maybe they're teenagers, maybe they're in their early 20s, but what is the best advice or wisdom that you could give to a young person that would like to follow a path similar to yours?
Hmm. I think be passionate, stay close to yourself, work hard, and gather the people around you who you can learn from. It's hard sometimes that to have teachers which are or working together with people who know more than you, because if they know more than you can learn. It's more easier to go along with the people you know and the people which is a very safe environment. But sometimes try to go abroad. Try to go somewhere where you are on your own and you have to do on your own and make the decisions because you grow. It's not all the time maybe the easiest way, but it will grow by the end. And in the end, you will grow as a good person who knows herself and know what you can do. Then you can be a little proud on yourself. It's hard work, dedication, respect for other people. And I don't know if that's especially for women. I think one especially thing for women is showing is always fun. You have parties, you have everything, and it's a big party. But if you want to go for your goal, go for your goal. And sometimes you cannot go to the party, or you can maybe go half to the party, but you get respect if you get your work done and not if you are completely drunk and the next morning you can't blow up your top. And that's my opinion. I know a lot of people would maybe not agree with me, but this is what I did. And this is how people, as a woman, also respect me. So,
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that because you know what I hear? Discipline and focus. I do have a question for you because I always ask my last guest in the series to leave a question for the next person. So, question I have for you. This was a question that Fernanda Lopez from Brazil, who's a global
yeah.
marketing manager with Adaseo, has left for you. And she was asking, how can we get more women involved in sharing the messages of dairy on a public platform, even from the showing side? I'd be interested to hear your perspective because that's another side of dairy that people do see. But let's reflect that back to your sector and showing and in that space of it.
In everything we do, we should always be aware of our consumers. And I think that's for us very important that we give the right information. Whether you are on a show or if you are in public, it's good to explain to people what we're doing. A lot of people, they have the idea that cows belong in a barn and they don't belong on a show. And but if we keep on explaining what we do, why we do it, why the cows chewing the cud also on the show, it's not because they're not feeling happy, it's because they're happy when we take care of them. But even in the ag business, on the farms, the people, the farmers, they take care for the cows. If the farmers don't take care of the cows, they don't give any milk. So it's a very simple circle. And the only thing we can do is be quiet. And if you hear that noise and if people are very negative, which is a lot of times the way it is, unfortunately, we just need to let them talk and then try to be slow reacting, but quiet reacting. And I know it's hard because you always feel agitated when people say that. And I think what we're doing right now is good too. We discuss this and we discuss it in maybe an 80% of the listeners are people from the ag business, but there are always people who are listening this which are not from the ag business. So I think every positive thing we can do, and we reflect that even the shows but also the farms, we open days, let the consumers come in the farm, check what we're doing, that we take care. I think all these small things, they will help to get our business better.
That's good advice. And I think it reflects a lot on what you shared about some of the things you've learned in your years in the business is to just take those moments and listen and observe and then respond.
Sometimes when it's the discussion is high, I also have difficulties to, and I also sometimes boom get into it for sure. But I always try to be not, but sometimes it just happens too. But
Well, I can tell you have a lot of passion for what you do and that's so much energy, so much drive. And what a pleasure it's been to have this conversation. Erica, do you have a question that you'll leave for our next guest?
yes, again about the youth, you hear it's very important for me, but we can also put it on all young people, how we can keep the young people in our agricultural business and let them enjoy farming, even if it's a lot of hours and a lot of time you need to work on your farm instead of having the fun things, but how we can keep the people in the business for another 20 years.
That is a good question. I'm excited to hear how our next guest will respond to that. And especially getting a global perspective on these
Yes.
questions has been pretty unique too. And Erica, I just have enjoyed you so very much today and learned a lot myself, not just about your story, but just these little nuggets of wisdom that you've shared within your experiences and the things that you have done. But if I were to sum it all up, you have an extreme drive and passion that has pushed you to work very hard to get where you're at. And you have no intention of slowing down on that progress, but sometimes maybe just tweaking little things and doing it differently. But what a gift you have, and how great it is that you have the desire to pour that into another generation that's coming into not just the dairy business, but this segment, this sliver that is the showing world and the fitting world. And what a platform that space is for these kids, whether they pursue a path like yours or whether they get excited and want to stay in this business. But what a gift that they can be if they end up actually going outside of the dairy business and being an advocate and a representation of what they've learned from people like you along the way, because you're an incredible representation of the industry in the way that you do the things you do. That's what I have to say about you, Erica.
Well, thanks so much for the beautiful words, but I just want do what I do, to inspire people. And again, what I said, you can't have all friends, but I'm trying to help everybody on the way. I think I always try to help them to get better. And that's my goal, because that's the way how I wanted to be treated. So that's the way how I try to treat other people.
You just heard from Erica Rijneveld as part of our series of International Women in Dairy here on the Up-Level Dairy Podcast. If you like this episode, please take a moment to give it a 5-star rating or write a review, and better yet, share it with someone you know who would like to learn more about what Erica's doing, and also find links in the show notes for the Young Breeders' School. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and thanks again for joining me today. Keep on learning, keep on growing, and keep up-leveling your dairy.